Hi guys, Adam here. As you know, we're constantly striving to improve the sound quality of our podcast, and in order to give you guys a little perspective on how far we come, sometimes we like to revert and go back to sounding a little bit worse sometimes. Just kidding, we had a little bit of a technical issue on this episode, and we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up that some of the audio quality is a little bit rougher than you're probably used to expecting. But just bear in mind that there was a temporary glitch. We've since solved that problem, and we hope we won't have anything like that happening again. Thanks for listening as always. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome! Tonight on the show, we take a look at CJ Foods Korean Barbecue, the #1 selling barbecue sauce between the years of 2013 and 2018, coming to you from the best new podcast of Q4 of 2020. We are so glad to have you here today. Thank you for listening. This is Sauce Spoken.
And we're back. We are Sauce Spoken. We're the podcast detailing your favorite sauces, dips, and condiments. I'll be your host this week. My name's Adam, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Tori.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. We are delighted that you are here. And to my right, as always, the man, if you could see the words come out of his mouth, they would be italicized, our good friend and co-host, E.
Hello and good evening. It's
Good
wonderful to be here.
evening.
Good evening is right. Oh gosh, I'm excited to do the sauce. I'm excited to be here talking to everyone, and I got a lot of good things to share this week. So
Wow.
You always do. You always do.
do I?
course.
I don't know. I think you guys have to drag it out of me personally, but
I was telling Tori earlier on the way over, we had a little bit of a glitch, as we may have mentioned for the listeners previously. We record a little bit in advance.
A couple of times.
And so the episode that actually dropped today, we had a little bit of a technical error. So it was a little bit late to being released on Spotify, and it was released everywhere else on time. But I was initially concerned there was maybe some questionable content in that episode right off the bat, and I was initially a little bit concerned that we may have been reported or flagged for some sort of problem. So I was working on a disclaimer earlier today, thinking, how are we going to address this publicly? But now I don't fucking have to, because apparently it wasn't because we were making terroristic threats potentially that could be interpreted that way. So
We're trying to find out who the narc was.
yeah, you were all prepared to give me up and hand me over to the FBI.
I was going to say it's all E, the whole podcast, all the threats. No, we had made some obviously joking comments a few episodes ago about Eric potentially being a dangerous human. And I was afraid that maybe
Bringing it up again is probably a
Well, I'm going to address it just for clarification. People can reference this episode in the future that we will never make any legitimate terroristic threats. That there will always be satire joking. And there, now I've said that, and that's not a full disclaimer either. So, but
They're smiling. I can see them from here.
Sure.
They. Remember they?
Yeah, they are handlers, right?
Your FBI guy's smiling.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
you're in good shape.
they're back out in the van now. They were in earlier, very closely monitoring us, but they've left back to the vans again.
Very
They
nice
couldn't
guys.
believe how nerdy of a nerd palace this is.
But speaking of terroristic intentions and plans, how was your week this week, Eric?
It was really good. I had a dentist appointment.
Wow.
I started
Neat.
watching
With
Breaking
Dr. Sucky?
Sakai.
We listen.
He's a man of break.
Everything's good there.
He has been on the podcast, referenced more on the podcast than any individual sauce has at this point. I'd like to make that clarification.
Yeah, we hit on dentistry a lot.
Yeah,
Me too.
we're big dentistry podcasts. There probably are dentistry podcasts. I haven't thought
sure
about that.
there has to be.
Certain there are.
Yeah, I still grind my teeth, and actually a little bit of a problem this week sleeping. I don't know. I've been very tense.
Huh.
I've been grinding my teeth so hard that when I wake up, my whole face hurts.
Wow.
So yeah, there's that. But the rest, of the most part,
I was wondering if your face hurts.
Oh my god.
Oh,
yeah.
That's where we saw it come a mile away.
Yeah, sort of walked into that one. All right.
Yeah.
I felt bad because you seemed like legitimate.
That was a beach ball that you lobbed
I thought you
into
could see
him
it.
like grandma.
Oh, my face hurts. Anyways, please continue.
Yeah, dude, I'm really sorry to hear about that. Is there a mouth guard or something you can wear? Is there some kind of protection that you?
Yeah, there's a mouth guard. It's like $300. I'll just grind my teeth away.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's definitely a good idea.
Spend that money on Kickstarters instead.
Yeah,
if there was
nice.
that's what I should do. I should market a teeth grinding guard on
Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You'll make thousands, I'm sure of it.
I'll make it with a fucking can opener or something like that in it too, and you'll be fucking all over that shit. Like, oh boy!
Look, I can open bottles of beer with my teeth.
Yes,
or my
with
guard.
your mouth.
You know?
Yeah,
with your
exactly.
mouth
They pour
guard.
them straight into your mouth. You'd go for that in a heartbeat.
Remember Paul Wall, the People's Champ?
Yeah.
That's you, E.
Don't other reference.
Oh boy, there's a shock. This guy had a big grill, with the diamonds and the precious metals all throughout your mouth. No.
Yeah. I'm following. I just started watching Breaking Bad, so it's kind of funny because of the
Tuco.
Yeah.
Tuco Salamanca.
Very well done. Okay.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
famously unhinged cartel leader. Or one of the cartel lieutenants, I guess, in
Did that
Breaking
create-
Bad.
I've never finished Breaking Bad before, and I know it's a certain somebody's favorite show, so I thought I would.
Are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite show. It's
That's
a
one of
very good
yours.
show.
Oh.
It is one of the best shows of all time, as according to IMDb. So
No
I think it's
question.
fair to say it's a good show
Oh yeah.
and worth watching.
It's worth watching.
I have watched it the entire series 3 times, I think.
and I've yet to make it through. So here we go. Attempt number 3.
Wow.
I'm into season 2. So
What you busy doing?
You're failing to commit to something? Really?
that is my shtick. That's for
How's
sure.
your bathroom update coming along?
I worked on it last weekend.
Oh,
so,
shit!
yeah.
Holy cow, we're going to have to tell Amy about that. We should
Okay.
document
She
the
knows.
occasion.
E, I'm all ears, dude.
I tore up the flooring, which I said needed to be done.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was about as far as I got.
This
So,
might be the first episode where you've made progress since we started. I remember we were
Probably.
joking about that in the first episode, I think.
Well, I'm trying. How much more is left? I mean, what more you got to check off the old box?
oh, there's still quite a bit.
He's still in the demoing phase,
Yeah.
so I would think we're still going into the negative at this point. But what else do you have going on with your week, E? How's your nap count going?
I took another one, so I'm probably around 13 or 14 for the year so
I
far.
would like the listeners to know, if we go back about 2 episodes ago, he told me, oh, nothing's changed since last time. It's still 6 since you asked, and now we're up to 13. This is why I give him such a hard time, because this is what happens. He changes the narrative halfway through.
Actually, the last time you brought it up, I said if you, depending on how you're defining a nap, but pretty much all I do is nap.
Revisionist history. So.
I'm not sure about all that.
I know, actually, I was talking to my coworker just a couple days ago. She was asking me about, how my evenings go. I said, oh, well, the other day I took a nap when I came home from work instead of being productive, and then I was up till midnight, and then I got, into bed and got up at 4 a.m. for work. She's just like, there's no way I could have done that. I'm like, I do it all the time. Like, I stay up way too late and get a little amount of sleep, and then I put in a full day of work.
And every day of misery.
Yeah, and then I take a nap, which is why the whole cycle starts.
Yep.
No, I've been trying to do better about it this year, and so far I think, 13, 14 naps. That's, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely slipped the last couple of weeks.
I mean, you were up to the point where I know last year you were taking a solid nap a day, bare minimum. So I would say that's better than,
Yeah.
at this point, we're like, 100 and something days into the year. So I would say that you're, if you're under 100, I would think you're doing better than last year. So.
Right. I'm still keeping my Kickstarter backings down low. I don't know. I think I've only been about 4 for the year, so about 1 per month, which is what I was holding myself to. So
okay, if you're all right, well, I might have to fact check that. We might have to do that in the show notes, but I'll have to see some receipts. But that's okay. What
audit time?
What about you? What about you, Tori? How's your week this week?
Oh boy. Well, I'm scam baiting another guy. I got another scammer on the line here. He's a record holder. This is 4 days going strong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Email?
This is
Phone
an
call?
email
Okay.
email scam. Yeah, real similar. The train keeps going. So that's a real joy. Brings a smile on my face. No one can figure out why I do it. I can't explain it, but yeah, I like Jack and Drew.
You're not the only person I know that does that. There's some other people who also like to engage with those people, and my thing is just, I don't know, I'm too paranoid about that kind of thing because I'm always like, I don't know, what if these people actually are smart and they find some way to, fuck with me?
Mm.
So that's always my concern. I don't think it's legitimate. I think it's just a paranoid delusion, but.
yeah, you're definitely not alone. I actually was going to put it in the show notes, but then I went to YouTube it, and there's got to be like, I don't know, easily 20 channels.
Oh, no
Yeah,
question.
thousands of compilations.
Oh,
Yeah. It's no big, you're just one of many, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I got that going. I got no idea what his real name is. We didn't get to that point yet. Not like the last one.
Oh, okay.
So I'm still.
Did he tell you to catch COVID yet?
No, it's still quite amicable. I had made up a fictional character, Tim, and Tim very sadly passed from COVID. God rest his soul. Yeah. So this imaginary fellow Tim, he passed away. So I had to go to the funeral today. So I couldn't take a picture of the gift cards naturally. So once I take a drive out to the ocean and spread out Tim's mortal remains, then I got to come back. So it's going to be a couple more days.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I smashed my phone in a softball game earlier this week. I mean, this is all just, meandering. But yeah, I had a good time with that. I got my new Windows installed today on
unrelated to the scam.
Yeah, entirely unrelated to the scam. Yeah,
scam myself into free Windows.
Yeah, that's more or less a hobby. But yeah, so I got new Windows installed, so that was nice. Yeah, real pleasant experience.
Do all these scam emails come through your work email?
Mm-hmm.
See, that actually concerns me about your IT department. It doesn't seem like you're doing a very good job of filtering these things.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's above my pay grade, and I just forward them off. And then I have my fun.
Okay, very good. So you do report them, so they are getting addressed in the meantime, then?
No.
What do you mean?
No, he forwards them to his personal
to your personal
email.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. At least probably all your coworkers are getting legitimately scammed, so that's good.
Well, I mean, I want to feed them enough lies. I want to know how it works. And I asked my first buddy about how it worked, and he wouldn't budge on any question. I think it's a legitimate question. If you rip somebody off for $3,000, is there a hierarchy? Like, do you owe somebody? Or are you paying for leads?
You know what?
How does that work?
If you are legitimately interested in this, there are actually other podcasts that have gone into detail on this type of thing. And one I would recommend to you, and this is not a paid promotion, but I would say check out Reply All. They're like a kind of a tech internet podcast, but there's one, and I can't remember the exact name of the episode, but there's one that's a multi-part episode where they go into like a phone scam and they trace it all the way down to like the deepest possible origins, and then go into all the way into the part where they're like traveling to India to track these guys down.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they actually meeting up with people. So
wow.
Yeah, it's wild stuff. And if you're really interested in like the logistics of it, I would highly recommend that. Or for the listeners that are interested. I mean, Reply All is, if anyone has heard of us, I'm certain they've heard of Reply All. They're a phenomenally popular podcast. That's had some recent controversy, but up until then, they were very popular. So.
I'll be darned. I'm not familiar with that recent controversy, but I'll have to check it out. And so that's been my week in a nutshell. I don't have really too much to share.
I know in the brief research that I did when I was looking at other scammers, I guess a lot of them are coming from Nigeria currently. That's like a real big...
Yeah, I think that's the hot spot. Yeah.
Or obviously India, a lot of them come from there, or like Bangladesh, countries like that. There are companies in these countries, like illegitimate companies, like gray market companies, that are legitimately making a business off of scamming Americans. That is actually like they have a call center, they have an office building,
Right. This isn't like an individual.
Yeah, it's not just some dude. Like, this is a corporate setting.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking there has to be a script, because everything that I've come across, they all use the same language, in a manner of speaking, and some of it's even sort of dated. I've noticed, the scriptwriter doesn't quite have the grasp of conversational English,
right,
like you should,
right. No, they go to training, but you're right. There is absolutely a script.
I'll be damned.
And on that note, speaking of Asian countries and things in that general region,
otherwise fine people, outstanding people, solve the earth. I think we need to make that clear.
Oh, absolutely. I meant no ill intentions on that, and that's going to kind of roll into what we're talking about tonight. Also, speaking favorably of things, because tonight we are going to be talking about another little Asian favorite, because we're going to be doing, this is CJ Foods Korean barbecue original sauce, chicken and pork marinade. That's the I guess you'd call it a sauce that we're doing tonight. We had a little bit of a debate about this, but before we get into that, I guess let's go ahead and lead it off with a little visual description. Do you want to kind of lead us off of what we're looking at there, Tori?
Yeah, most definitely. And it first thought popped into my brain. Paul, if you hear me, but I'm thinking peanuts.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that was what hopped into my mind right off the bat, and it's even plastic to boot, like you would see in various nut containers. But yeah, so there you have it. It has a red lid, has some contour, but for the most part, it's cylindrical.
Yep.
I'm not really thrilled with this label. I wouldn't say it's particularly standout, but it's not boring either. It has an orange ribbon across the bottom and top. CJ Foods, of course. There, Korean barbecue. We have some script in what appears to be Korean.
Yeah, I would have to assume.
Yeah, and this I found interesting. Korean's #1 barbecue, but only for 5 years, between the years of 2013 and 2018. They missed something in 2019 there, so I'm sorry to hear that. And it is 2021, so...
Or somebody just came around with a better recipe.
We may have missed the window. Maybe.
Huh. Yeah, I think it is a pretty nondescript label. I think you're right. It looks like it's one step above like generic, you know what I mean? But it is in... Yeah. You definitely hit the nail on the head. You hit right on the ballpoint with the peanut jar. If you're, for the listeners, it's the large canister that you would get, the clear canister, not the foil wrapped cardboard one that they typically sell peanuts and other, like sunflower seed, nuts type of thing in. It's pretty much exactly that container. It's a larger container.
Certainly more than a single serve worth of peanuts.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like a canister that should last you a while if you're a normal consumer of peanuts. How big is that jar there, Eric?
It's a nice even 840 grams, which is...
it's a big boy.
Yeah, 29.7 ounces. So
It's definitely a tall boy. And this... Well, like I was getting at earlier, I call this a sauce. It does say Korean barbecue original sauce, but I think that this is really intended more as a marinade, as it also says on the label, based on our usage, which we'll dive into a little bit more later. And I think it says on there that this is, they intend this to be enough for something like 3 pounds of meat or something like that. I think it says on the side or the back.
It actually says to marinate 2.2 pounds of chicken or pork.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
For an hour or longer. I don't know if they mean to use the entire thing or if it's supposed to be multiple servings.
Well,
serving size 1.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like you empty the entire jar into a a marinade of something, whatever you're going to cook.
So how many pounds of meat did you cook with? And you didn't even use the whole thing.
Well, we'll get into that. Like I said, I want to get into that a little later. I want to finish our description, but that is a little... We did multiple tastings on this sauce, as we've talked about doing before. But before we dive too deep into that, do you want to give us some visual description on the actual sauce itself that we're looking at there, Eric?
Sure. And also just not to say that you didn't do a good job there, Tori, but I also wanted to mention that it says made with Korean pear and apple on it. And it says hot and spicy. So a couple of things I thought were worth mentioning. I thought it was really interesting what a Korean pear and apple is compared to...
good old Johnny Appleseed.
Right, yeah.
That's a good point. Maybe they just mean grown in Korea.
That's what I'm guessing. But the sauce itself is a really deep red, almost burgundy to brown, really. But then it clings quite well to the sides, and then it has it's opaque until it gets very thin, and then it has a nice translucency to it, and then there's lots of suspended seasoning, so you can see.
Yeah, there is like some particulate matter or something, kind of. And this was wrapping up this was a third. We teased the sauce several episodes ago. This was one of the ones that my girlfriend also was kind enough to go and get us from the local Chinese market when she got us the yellow sriracha and also the Lee Kum Kee satay sauce.
Oh yeah, indeed.
And I definitely think this was the best of the bunch by far.
And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I did try that yellow sriracha on shrimp tacos. Did I mention
it's time for E-Salvation.
Oh.
He's going to, as we mentioned before, E likes to try the bad sauces repeatedly before and try to redeem them. So why don't you go ahead and elucidate us on this, on your taco experiment here, E. You said fish tacos?
No, they were shrimp. I had some shrimp tacos, and I put the yellow sriracha on top of them, and I think it actually improved the taco. So I thought it was pretty good.
In what way?
It added flavor, but not too much heat.
Okay.
It had that like slightly citrusy kind of punch to it, which we had said while we were tasting it. So yeah, I thought it was good.
Did you make these tacos, or did you buy the tacos?
So these were reheated tacos from going out
I stole them from work.
a few nights ago with Colleen of all people.
Oh,
So,
okay. All right, very good. Maybe you did mention that to me. This sounds vaguely familiar. I don't think you mentioned it on the podcast, though.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if I shared with the podcast or if it was just.
That's okay. If listeners don't like it, they can just retroactively fast forward 15 seconds, so and they won't have to hear it again. And it would be funny if we did an edited version of the podcast where we just removed all of E's talking. It was just you and me talking to each other, Tori, with awkward pauses.
Awkward pauses, huh? I don't think it'd be that awkward.
It'd be, well, maybe for anything, it might be less awkward, but. But no, you're definitely right about the sauce itself, Eric. There's definitely, and that was one thing I wanted to point out, was that with all these sauces that she got, they all seem to have a bit of a distinct grittiness to them. And I don't know if that's like the style, or if it just goes to part of that, like you're supposed to incorporate these more with a dish rather than putting them on a finished prepared dish. But this one was definitely the least, with least gritty of all of them, I think.
I don't think that the yellow sriracha was particularly. We said it was like pulpy.
Yeah, it was like pulpy.
Yeah, but it wasn't really gritty. Not like the first one, not the satay sauce.
Did you guys? That
was straight up sand.
Did you guys?
Mix,
Did you guys, when you're like children in elementary school, did you guys ever chew paper? Did you ever like put paper in your mouth and chew it up until it was like a pulp?
I think I might have done it once because
I did it a lot.
It's how you make spitballs, and you hold a straw to your mouth, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, I feel like an integral part of my childhood was chewing paper.
Wow. Did it make you sick and then you have to go home?
No. I think I thought it was like one of those things where, like the spies in the movies, well, if they get a secret note and they have to hide it from your enemy, they'll eat it. I just thought, you can eat paper. How cool. And then I was like, I get it to the chewing phase, and I was like, why am I doing this? And spit it out. But in the meantime, you got that nice pulpy deliciousness, which is what the yellow sriracha reminded me of.
Ooh.
Papery, pulpy tasting.
And on that note, so these, the particulates in this sauce here, this Korean barbecue, it's almost like a fine powder, or not. I don't want to say very fine because you do notice it, like your tongue can detect.
Right. Have you ever had creatine powder?
No.
Tori, have you ever had creatine powder?
I am mixed in with stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But you get like a faint grittiness from that too. I don't know, for the listeners who may have had, if they were into weightlifting or something like that, you may have had creatine powder, and that's kind of like this, like if it doesn't get fully mixed in the water, you get a little bit of grittiness after.
I was going to say it's kind of like American chili. If you have like a lot of chili powder in it.
Huh? Oh, okay, all right.
A lot of chili powder mixed into your chili, and you take like a tablespoon, and it just has that, like, you can actually sort of feel out the particulates as you're eating it.
I don't think I've ever had that much chili powder in it, but
I tend to over chili powder my chili.
I feel like
a lot of it.
You do put a lot of chili powder in chili. Not you. I just mean in general one does. But I don't know enough that I've ever detected grittiness. But that's an interesting observation.
My parents are famous for their bland chili, I should say. I mean, my mom will do like an entire stock pot or whatever, a 4-quart pot of chili, and she'll put like 1 tablespoon of chili. That's not enough chili. I like
spice it up.
Yeah, I like to. I go overboard maybe sometimes, but
that's interesting. I feel like I learned something there, but I don't know what to make of it. So something about you, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out psychologically. Well, that's interesting. This is definitely, like I said, to be perfectly clear, this one here, I don't think the grittiness would at all be, a detractor, because I didn't notice it. The only time I noticed it when I was tasting it was when I tried it straight up on a toothpick. That was the only time I noticed the grittiness. And as you had mentioned earlier, Eric, we did try this a couple times. Tonight we tried it on chicken nuggets, as is customary, and I tried it on a little bit on a toothpick. And again, I didn't get any of the grittiness on the chicken nuggets. But what this sauce, I think, is more made for is a marinade. So several weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, we had a small little gathering, and we fired up the grill kind of as an inaugural grill. I was trying to make inaugural, but with the grill, inaugural outing. And we decided to do a little Korean barbecue for that, and we actually used this sauce. And things that we made was a pork tenderloin and that was marinated whole in its entirety, and then a flank steak, and the flank steak was sliced and then marinated in slices. And both of these were the pork tenderloin was grilled, like I said, whole, marinated, and the flank steak was grilled directly in the slices. And when I initially brought this over, I brought the rest of the sauce in case we needed extra sauce on it. But as it turns out, the marinade on itself was quite sufficient to provide more than enough flavor. So I don't know, what do you guys think about kind of like what we tried it on? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, when you cooked it for us, I think you said you had like 3.5 pounds worth. I mean, so you had even more.
You did ask that earlier. I had a lot. I think I want to say I had somewhere in the ballpark of 5 pounds, and I probably used 3/4 of this jar. And you guys remember the, I thought, distinct flavor that it had on it.
Yes, definitely. It was very flavorful. If I remember, I remember liking the pork slightly better than the flank steak, but that could just be because I tend to like pork more than I like beef. But I just thought the flavors were great and cooked onto that meat. I don't remember the grittiness of the sauce either, because it was marinated and then grilled.
Right.
Tonight, I was able to detect that little bit of grittiness even on the chicken nuggets.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then I tried it by itself several times with just the toothpick. I kept eating it out of the little Dixie cup as much as I could.
You dipped your pen in it several times and suckled it off the pen. And I noticed it's the same pen that you dipped in the nacho cheese from last week, so that's a little weird. But
I didn't clean it either.
I let it sit out. Amy will be writhing. If she ever listens to this episode, she'll be writhing in disgust.
She had an interesting craving this morning. She said she was craving hot dogs with cheese in them.
Nacho cheese.
And that's exactly what I said to her. I said, you do realize that cheese I got and that hot dogs came from a can, right? She
right.
Said, no. The nitrates, the hot dog, alter the fake flavor of the cheese and makes it okay.
She's a chemist now.
So, how about that?
Yep.
All right.
Hey, that's something.
I think what we learned is that she straight up likes that sauce.
I think so.
She's gonna come back on and amend her rating. Mm. But yeah, I guess on the foods that we tried on, what did you think about that, Tori?
I thought it was gritty. Dude, I'm totally on board with the gritty. I took a fingerful of it, and I got a hunk of something. I don't know what it was, but it was reasonably sized.
Even when we grilled it a few weeks ago?
Just now.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, just now. No, as far as the grilling is concerned, oh boy, that was really swell. Yeah, that was really good. I didn't get any of that grittiness.
I do think that Eric kind of hit upon a key point there, and he did us back with his ease redemption for the Lee Kum Kee satay, in that I think these sauces are made to be used more of a marinated than grilled, and then that dissipates whatever the grit is. And I think that probably also played a bit of a factor when we tried it the first time with this, but I also do want to issue a brief disclaimer because, as we've mentioned before, and we haven't mentioned in the past couple episodes, we do try sauces, dips, whatever, in kind of the natural state they're designed to be tasted in. And as I mentioned, this does say sauce on it. So we did try both as a marinade and a sauce. And I think we agreed that it works better as a marinade. But this has been sitting in my fridge for the past 4 weeks or something like that. It was in a fridge. It wasn't a refrigerated temperature before I brought it here tonight. And I think it's still a little chilled. It's not perfectly room temperature. It is possible, though, that the grit only exists in a cooled state and does not exist when it's been, sitting at room temperature in the cupboard, because I don't remember it from the first time.
I don't remember it either.
So that is totally possible. That I would say don't include that too much in your ratings, just because that definitely could be a factor of me having kept it aged in my fridge, which we generally try to avoid having sauces that have been refrigerated that aren't supposed to be and have been stored longer than they're supposed to be, opened, etc. We try them fresh.
Yeah, the sauce isn't expired, by the way, which is good.
Yeah, we did. I did try it soon enough so that it hadn't expired by the time we got around to it, because we knew we wanted to do our UK episode, our UK mini-series, and then get Amy on. So
they've been pretty busy on the podcast, that's for sure, which is cool.
Busy, dude. We're busy bees.
Well, we're trying.
It is springtime.
Yeah.
When the bees come out. That being said, Eric, do you want to go ahead and lead us off with kind of your initial tasting notes on the sauce?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start off with my smell.
Yeah, I was going to address that too. You got to do something to fix that, bro.
No, my smell of the sauce. I smell great.
Are you talking about, now, full disclaimer, if there's something this applies to both of you, if there's something that you noticed tonight that you didn't notice initially, I do want to differentiate between those for the listeners, and just in case something did go off.
Okay.
You know?
No, I don't think, honestly, I even kind of remember a little bit of the seasoning, that like texture, having a slight texture to it, even when we did grill it. But it was a good texture.
You said earlier you didn't, motherfucker.
I didn't notice it as pronounced.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying.
Devil's in the details, brother.
But it reminded me of smelling like a Szechuan sauce, which is something I don't think we've really tried on here before, but it's kind of a strong, distinct odor. Kind of fermented, kind of like a deep sweetness, but also like kind of like a sweet and sour, but I don't know. It's a really interesting smell. Let's just put it that way. And don't be turned off by that, because I could see where someone might be afraid to continue on, but it's definitely worth trying.
It's funny that you would say someone might be turned off, because in my usual gross comparisons, I was going to say that it looks a bit like congealed blood in appearance-wise. I was going to mention that earlier during our description phase, but
yeah, that's not an inaccurate description of how it looks. That's for sure.
If you're a little Dracula, maybe give this a shot.
So let's see. The sauce also reminded me of actually the sweet and sour pork ribs that you would get at like a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a lot sweeter, and this has a little more like kick to it, and even slight hints of like horseradish, I thought. It has a heat that builds, which I really, really enjoy. I actually like that kind of, where it comes in, it's flavorful, it catches you, it hooks you, you keep wanting to come back, and then it's, that spice just continues until like, you're well into the meal, and you're like, oh, this has some noticeable spice to it, which is good though. And I definitely think it has chili powder in it. I think that's definitely one of the ingredients.
Chili powder?
I do.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. Interesting.
I noted that it has a crawling viscosity to it. If you tilt that over, it doesn't just run right out. It has a slow but steady march.
Okay. Keen of you.
Well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a sweet flavor in the beginning, and robust, like just savory, really like sweet and savory, and then it has a little bit of a heat. That's what I thought. So, Tori, what can you expand upon there?
Dude, I don't think you left me any room to expand.
Yeah, that was pretty solid.
Wow. Yeah, that was really well done. Yeah, I thought it smelled a lot like the sweetness, the molasses, the tomatoey, maybe a fruitiness to it. I mean, obviously, pears, peaches on the side. Like we mentioned, I'm sure some brown sugar definitely got a lot of sweetness on the smell. I thought it was tough, generally just tough on the nose. It was tough to put your nose in there. Not particularly pleasant. To your point about separating these two applications, on grilled, of course, we mentioned it was absolutely delightful. It was a treat. It was really well done. I didn't get any of the grittiness, at least on any of the meat. And we put down like a metric ton.
All of it, yeah. All of it.
Yeah, so yeah, it was delicious. It was terrific. So allow me to differentiate from this experience about the heat, not so good. Again, a testament to the difference between a marinade and a sauce and yada, yada, yada. So maybe that's not maybe that's not fair. I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, the tasting notes of robust, I thought was a tremendous word. He used that word specifically, so I thought that wrapped it up really nice. The heat was there, surely. It was fruity, maybe a little sweet, certainly just a wee little bit of sweetness. The grit was too much, but it's a marinade. So overall, not one of my favorites, but hey, it's a Korean barbecue. I think that would be the ideal if you would. In my mind's eye, if I would think Korean barbecue general, in a general sense, that's it.
I know you and your wife had expressed a little apprehension towards the Korean barbecue upon our initial, when we initially just first talked about having this, and I think you guys were more disinterested in the kimchi and the mung beans and all that type of stuff rather than the meat.
Yeah, that all turns me off, man.
I'm a big fan of kimchi. Not as much of the mung beans, but definitely I like a good kimchi.
I like it all.
As far as me, for tasting notes, I do think that this smell, at least, was not altered from the initial time when I opened it. Because I know that when I went to marinate the meats, I was distinctly a little concerned because, it was dinner for all of us. There were going to be like 6 of us there or so. And so Always a little apprehensive when you're trying something new like that, before you marinate all this meat in there, just to make sure that it is actually good before you marinate it in something that is garbage. And it's always hard to tell with a sauce like this how exactly it's going to turn out before, like as we mentioned, it changes a lot when you're going through kind of the marinating and grilling process, etc. It's tough to tell how it's going to play out in the long run. And so my initial smell was definitely questionable. And I definitely get a lot of, kind of the same way that you taste it. It's just with this, the smell is not necessarily the greatest smell, but the flavor is really good because it's got a lot of that. You kind of smell the fruitiness. You smell what I think is like soy sauce. And I think you kind of were talking about fermented. Maybe that's kind of part of that too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With like some vinegar notes, things like that. So it's definitely, has a pungent odor, but flavor-wise, and I did taste a little bit before I marinated all the meat in it, and flavor-wise, I thought it was great. On the front, it does say chicken and pork, and prior to this, we tried it on the pork and also steak, and I think it was phenomenal on both those grilled, and we tried it tonight on chicken nuggets. I didn't get any of the grittiness on the chicken nuggets. They were cooked properly crispy as I like. Eric did a good job on cooking them, so I didn't, between the crunchiness of the chicken nugget, I didn't get a whole lot of the grittiness. I did get it on the toothpick, which, like I said, I'm not going to detract any points for because I don't remember that initially. Eric's claiming he did now, revisionist history. But no, definitely for me, like I said, heavy, soy sauce, kind of like an umami bomb. A pleasant sweetness, but not overbearing. Not sickly sweet like you get with some Chinese dishes at all. Definitely like natural fruit sweetness, which I thought was appropriate, and it had a good heat to it. And I will say that, like you had said, I noticed it about halfway through eating. I was like, oh, this does have heat to it, and it was, I've said before, a decent heat tolerance. It does say hot and spicy on the container. And I would say this is, they have, if you're talking like salsas, they've got mild, they've got medium, and they've got hot. And to me, this was extremely medium. This was the most medium of heats. That's the way I would put it. It was a lot of presence with the heat, but not in a way that was actually burning me. Like, it was definitely very noticeable and potent without being actually burning my tongue. Like, at no point did this ever actually make my mouth burning, I think, but it was a very noticeable heat, which I thought was interesting how they accomplished that. And I thought very, masterfully done and balanced. And as I mentioned before, we marinated this meat in there, and not only did it lend a pleasing color, but it had more than enough flavor just from the marinating and grilling it. It definitely did not need any more sauce on top after it was done. So I think it did a really excellent job of that. And like I said, I enjoyed it on everything I had, and I would definitely recommend giving it a shot.
I have a question for you about your preparation for your marinade.
Sure.
You said you marinated overnight, I think you said?
Yes,
before?
in a Ziploc bag.
In a Ziploc baggie, and you cut up the steak flank, and then you just marinated the tenderloins whole.
Right.
Did you stab or slice those tenderloins in any way to get any of that?
Zero.
I was really surprised at how well the flavor exactly had gotten right through that pork tenderloin. I think even right to the middle, you still got notes of the Korean barbecue. So I really thought it did a great job as a marinade.
Yeah. It definitely saturated well, and that's the other thing, too. It's got that nice, pleasing reddish color, which does impart kind of that same color like you were saying when you get the teriyaki Chinese spare ribs or the chicken skewers. It's got that deep, dark red color, which I really like, all the way through, penetrating into the meat, which this definitely also had.
I dare say this might be my favorite natural food color of sauces. Not, I know you like that orange, but
pastel orange.
I like that, deep red, almost like red 40 or whatever.
Yeah, red 40. Well, it's interesting you should mention that. Why don't you go ahead? We've been talking a lot about the ingredients, and now with the red 40, why don't you go ahead and do your ingredients and lead us off with that there, Eric.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I also, one last thing on the flavor notes, trying it here tonight, I didn't look at the bottle when we were eating it, when you grilled it for us all to eat. And then tonight when we pointed out the pear and apple, actually, well, Tori was talking about it, tried a little bit more there. The last little bit I could scrape out of my cup. And if you're looking for pear and apple, you can taste it.
Yes.
You said, Tori, you said fruity. Adam, you even said fruity. I left that out because I just said it was sweet. apparently my refined tongue did not pick it up until I
Well,
was like thinking for it.
No.
Okay.
I want to rephrase because I don't believe I said it tasted fruity. I said it tasted sweet, but like a milder sweetness like you would get from fruit. I think I was trying to phrase it in such a way that I did not necessarily, like if you had asked me, is there fruit in this? I don't know if I could have given you a confident yes. But it definitely had a sweetness which could be, attributed to fruit.
Gotcha. Interesting.
I'm not gonna claim I could have called that though, the specific fruits in there by any means.
Do you think
I got more tomato than anything.
Tomato. Okay. Interesting.
After the previous sauces that we have had, some of the brown sauces, I would have said maybe dates.
Well, let's find out what's in here, huh? So we have ingredient number 1, red pepper paste.
Wow. Ingredient number 1.
What goes towards the whole there's a grittiness to this, right?
Could be, yeah.
Staining the plastic, I think that's the culprit.
I'm willing to bet that that's what you were mistaking for chili powder. I don't.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm certain that that's probably what that is.
And and it tells us what red pepper paste entails. It is wheat flour, corn syrup, water, red pepper powder, salt, wheat, distilled alcohol, koji.
Gojira!
Yeah, is that monster?
Yeah, that's a kaji.
Kaji, that's right. We have a game that. What's the name of the game, Eric?
Campy Creatures.
Campy Creatures. Yeah, there's a variety of, I don't know, one of those like Asian monsters of some sort in there.
Well, I think there's just monsters from all over. There's the Swamp Thing, the Invisible Man. There's aliens.
But aren't there a couple that are more like Eastern, oriented? There's the kanji or whatever you said.
Is the Godzilla equivalent?
Say the equivalent Godzilla is your strongest card, and that's your kaji.
Okay.
So this is koji, Koji.
Not made from that.
Not made from that.
Not made from giant
Reptile.
cities.
Yeah.
Reptile.
As cool as it would be, it would fit right in here at the very palace.
We'll have to check on that.
Defatted soybean powder is the last ingredient there of the red pepper paste.
Okay.
Then we have high fructose corn syrup, our favorite.
All right.
Soy sauce, Adam, you nailed that.
There you go.
Which contains water, hydrolyzed soy, protein, salt, high fructose corn syrup, dehydrated soybean.
You can skip those for the remainder of this episode.
Anything in parentheses.
Wheat, distilled alcohol,
Unless there's something interesting.
and more koji. So that's interesting.
Koji?
Wow, double down
That's
on koji.
I've never seen soy sauce really broken down and having that many ingredients in it.
I don't think I have either.
Kind of strange. Then it just has straight up water, sugar, apple puree, pear puree, salt, garlic, more red pepper powder.
Wow.
Cooking rice wine, monosodium glutamate, our favorite. Another favorite there. The flavor enhancer, as Adam likes to call it.
Yes.
Black pepper powder, ginger extract, citric acid, xanthan gum.
There it is.
Gun.
Sesame, and paprika.
Oil?
Olaris.
Let me see. I'm curious what it is now.
And
Capsaicin?
Capsaicin. That same weird word here, Adam. You figure it out.
Let me just look at it.
Damn, I was way off with molasses and brown sugar.
Oh, yeah, it was like oleoresin or something like that. Yeah, I have no idea what that word means. Capsaicin, oleoresin.
Have to look that up.
It looks like Oreo with an L. It's just OLEO resin. Oleoresin.
Oh, like that fake butter, oleo?
I don't know. It sounds like plastic to me, resin. A little concerning. But
it is a little concerning.
That's cool. If it's got plastic in it, fuck me up. I like plastic, I guess.
Microplastics.
Yeah. That shit was tight, I thought. That's interesting. So actually they have the high fructose corn syrup and sugar were both higher than the fruit. So maybe that was just my mind. Maybe that was power suggestion. I saw it on the label, which is probably their intention. They probably want you to think, oh, this is all natural, no artificial sweetener kind of thing. Kind of like power suggestion without actually telling you that. Like they'll hope you make that assumption by putting, they don't want to put a piece of corn on there and say made from, high fructose corn syrup. They put the pear and the apple on there so you associate that with this sauce.
I mean, it has a very front-forward sweetness to it. But like I said, if you're hunting for it, you can distinguish that pear and apple, I think. If you're really close your eyes and sucking down on it.
I mean, I do think it is there, and I do think the marinade is the way to go for this sauce as opposed to like I said, I liked it also on the chicken nugget. It's a little bit more intense on the chicken nugget. I definitely think it benefits from penetrating it as a marinade and just grilling it or something What are you fucking smirking about? There's nothing wrong with me saying penetrating it. That's fine.
Man.
We're adults here. We can say penetrate. Jesus Christ. He's giggling like a schoolgirl.
I do
over.
find
He's
that
so
funny.
happy.
You
Oh,
guys
it penetrated
give
the
me
meat.
such shit, so I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway.
You're so fucking pleased with yourself. Oh, he said penetrate. Like a fucking leprechaun over here. Oh boy, yes. Penetrate the meat, Eric. All the listeners can laugh now too. Ha ha. How fucking stupid I look.
Yeah, it's fine. It's true. It's exactly what it did.
That's what it did. How else would you describe that?
Impregnate.
Impregnated. Yeah.
Well, first
Immersed,
you have to
saturated.
penetrate, and then you can impregnate.
This is the sex ed part of the episode.
I'm going to pull out my Xanthem gun and fucking blast your ass. Not a terroristic threat for the listeners.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. And terrorist alarm. All right. Well, interesting. Well, I think we were all kind of the same page about the marinade thing, right? Like, that definitely seems like the route to go. That's what I would advise people.
Quite a spin, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, marinating, grilling, I think right as it suggests on the bottle, pork and chicken, I think it's those like fruity tones of apple and pear really go well with pork or chicken.
Yeah.
More so than beef, but it was still very good on your flank steak. I mean, I'm not going to turn that down. It was delicious.
They're not listing steak on here. I think it was perfectly fine. I think it's a good route to go. I would almost be more inclined to do that like I did the pork line if I was to do it again, as in marinate it whole, grill it whole, and then slice it afterwards. Because I do think I think it's a powerful enough sauce. It gets the penetration and the impregnation in order to be good on that. So
it fully flavors it. It's
yeah,
great.
definitely. And that's I kind of wanted to try both just in case one of them didn't pan out as good. But no, I would say I would definitely encourage. To me, if I was going to make a Korean barbecue, I would probably start trying to make a sauce from scratch by myself. And I think this is definitely better than something I would make at home. And on top of that, I would definitely say to listeners, hey, if you want to do a Korean barbecue, give this a shot if you can find it. Just, if they're saying 2.5 pounds meat, I would say go closer to 6 pounds. Obviously, if you're marinating it, when you have enough because it will totally cover the meat, but I think this is definitely enough for at least 2, if not 3 times what they're calling out poundage-wise for the meat.
Yeah, I have to fully agree with that. I do wonder, did we find a website for them or anything? Do they do anything other than hot and spicy?
I found a website for CJ Foods. I was unable to find a listing of their products, though. I do think that they make other similar types of ones, but it's also tricky for me to tell because this one has gone through other labeling, too. Like, I found about, maybe 4 or 5 different labels for this. One of them was very prominently labeled bulgogi, or bulgogi. I don't know how you properly pronounce
Something
that,
like that.
but I believe that is essentially the exact same thing as Korean barbecue, and I think that was just an alternative label. So hard for me to say for certain if they have other varieties, but I think CJ Foods is a pretty big conglomerate, so I have to imagine there are oodles of other sauces under this.
I also think it's interesting, right by the nutrition facts, they also reiterate that it has pear and apple puree for a sweet and fruity flavor and tender meat texture.
Huh.
Tender meat texture. That's strange, yeah. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if there's
that's strange. Or maybe they're saying like the acid helps to like break down the meat so it's not tough.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Maybe.
That's a stretch, I think. It might be.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
And then it says again, perfect for marinating, grilling, basting, and stir frying, which I bet this would be fantastic in a stir fry too.
Okay, so it seems like the intent is to apply some heat to this as opposed to just dipping a nugget. But honestly, it worked. I thought I would dip nuggets in it. I would dip. I do think the key is it needs to be hot. I don't think you'd want to eat this on something cold or room temperature. Definitely think heat is the key for this.
Yeah, warming up the sauce even just so you're saying like warm it up in like a little heat resistant bowl and then dip your cooked meats into it even would work.
I mean, hell, if you're really wanting to splurge, if you're going out for like a special night or something like that, like if something's really big and you're trying to have a special occasion, maybe just go for broke and plug your microwave in. Throw it in a bowl for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Go ahead and splurge on the power usage, and 30 seconds of microwave use would be
on
good
a low
too.
power because that high fructose
low
corn
power
syrup is gonna really spit and splatter.
Yeah,
and you could possibly burn it. So yeah,
you might have to spend the next 15 seconds after that cleaning out the inside of your microwave. So
I was hanging on every word just then.
yeah,
I knew there was a punchline coming. I knew it.
So, yeah, for the listeners, go ahead. Normal people, will be able to handle that just fine. Some of us, Eric actually made me pay him back for the microwave usage that we used last week. He said, if you're going to use my microwave, you're going to fucking pay for it.
You had to leave a quarter behind.
Send an invoice to the show.
Yeah, like a pool table when you're getting ready. Like, the next quarter's on me, this microwave's mine. I've never seen one with the washing machine little slider attached to the top for the 2 minutes of microwave usage per
dollar. Yeah. All right, I like that. I think I should be inventing that. That'd be the next Kickstarter, right?
Well, sure, why not? All right, well, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and splurge. Let's go ahead and get right into our ratings portion of the show. And well, Tori, would you like to lead us off this week with the rating?
Hey, what the heck? Yeah. I'm going to talk. That's okay. I'm going to talk a minute about, of course, I'm torn. I don't know with or without heat. Which way do we go? So I'm going to take the average between what would be both of my scores with or without heat. It says sauce on the front. You said you can dip nuggets in it. Me, I couldn't. I did. Not maybe begrudgingly, maybe not. But okay. So the average between the two is going to be a 6.5.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. It's going to be a 6.5 on the meat you're prepared, and this may be a credit to you being a talented chef.
Oh, sure, I'll take it.
And if it is, then so be it. I mean, I'm telling you are.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, but the meat that you prepared with that sauce was terrific. So I mean, don't let that 6.5 be a reflection on the way I feel about your cooking, because your cooking is terrific. But what really brought it down was it on the chicken nuggets. I couldn't do it, and it's weighted appropriately. Don't get me wrong. It has everything's calculated. I ran the algorithm upstairs here, But yeah, with that being said, wrapping it up, 6.5.
I'm actually really surprised about that because I couldn't stop grabbing nuggets for this shit earlier. Like I was trying to leave you guys some because we cut them in half so they fit better in the sauce in the sippy cups that they give us, and I couldn't stop grabbing these fucking nuggets. I think partially the reason they cut them in half for us is so they're not like a choking hazard. And
even more so,
especially with people that eat as fast as me, in case you inhale one, it doesn't get stuck, and they don't have to give us, CPR or,
But it can't be too small, otherwise you really would just suck it right in.
Like maneuver. Yeah, but no, I couldn't stop grabbing nuggets in this shit. I wanted more and more, so I'm actually surprised about that. But
are we going to wrap back around for his heat rating, or is Tori just kind of?
Yeah, I guess that's true. We should do a heat rating on this. It's one of those things that you kind of miss. Because like I said, the heat was interesting. Like I said, I thought it was very mild, but very present.
I think it was very mild, but then it built. Personally, I remember it building, especially during the meal too.
I do too.
On the prep food.
Yeah,
but
on the meat, excuse me.
As we had said, like with the Nando's, to me this was well below my threshold for like having to slow down. Like I could have slid that whole fucking pork loin right into my mouth unsliced. This just hammered it with it, and then that heat would not have been an issue. Yeah, I guess go ahead and give us a heat rating too there, Tori, while you're at it.
Man, that's quite the quandary. Boy, I am pondering away. Man, that is tough. Maybe a 7 for heat?
Okay.
Wow. I don't know.
I feel like that's high.
I agree. I'm with you.
Really? Okay.
I think it was. I remember distinctly hitting a point in the meal eating that I was like, I need to eat more rice.
Really?
I need to eat more something because my mouth was on fire.
Really?
And I was like, but it was a pleasant, like it slowly got me in there, like a frog being cooked in a hot pot,
yeah, that's perfect.
I was just sitting in there enjoying the wonderful temperature until the next thing I know I'm cooked. Yeah,
that's interesting.
It was good, but it was definitely my boil. I could tell you I could start with my heat rating and then do my flavor.
Well, I'm always surprised. I mean, I think that's a good fine way to do it, but I'm never surprised when our like flavor ratings are far apart from each other, just because obviously taste is pretty subjective. But I'm always really surprised when our heat ratings are far apart from each other, especially when, we all have markedly different heat tolerances, but sometimes, and you would think your inclination would be that I would always rate the heat lower and Tori would always rate the heat higher, for example, but that's not always the case. Like I think with,
Definitely depends, I think, on the type of
Yes.
pepper used.
Because I know there was one, it was the bonus hot sauces you brought. I rated those higher than I think Tori did on the heat. So I don't know. Sometimes,
right.
Heat is, I don't know, strange.
The Yellowbird one, too, that was a curveball.
Yeah, that's the thing with heat is that you can't predict that one. So interesting. But yeah, go ahead, Eric, and regale us, please.
Yeah, so I was thinking, Tori, of giving this a 6.5 for spice. Because, and I want to, preface that with...
sure, preface it.
The notion that it starts off sweet. It starts off very easy to get into. It doesn't hit you at 6.5. It probably comes in around at like a 3. And then you eat more and more and more. And by the end, it peaks out around 6.5, which I think is a pleasant spice level, but it gave me pause. So it was definitely, it got over that 5. It got over that medium. As Adam said, this is like, he thought it was absolutely the medium. I thought it was verging on the hot and spicy.
Wow.
I could see it, especially if someone like my parents or someone who has a low threshold for spice,
Right.
They would definitely notice this. So my heat rating's a 6.5, but then my flavor, I really liked it. I thought it was sweet but then flavorful and like I said, had that spice to it. I think a stir fry with this would be just so good. And when we did cook with it, we had a great time. And yeah, Adam, I could have easily have kept eating those chicken nuggets. I noticed there was like, I think I maybe had only like 3 because I was like, man, those are going quick.
Yeah, I was snatching them. I was like, oh boy, I like this.
So yeah, even by itself, I was liking it enough to keep wanting to go back for more. It definitely had, a thicker palate because it wasn't heated up. It had that, like I said, a more pronounced grittiness than what I remember having it the first time. But
I think it is still slightly below room temperature too. Like it's pretty close, but slightly below still.
I would be very interested in trying what, like we were saying, like actually heating it up a little bit and then just to see if that dips into its better. If it flows better, if it coats on the chicken better. Because I was actually using it kind of like I said, I had that crawling viscosity, almost like a jelly. I was really using the chicken nugget to scrape it up, like spoon it up.
I was scooping it.
Yeah, so
scooping it in my gullet.
I'm gonna have to come in at a solid 8.5.
Oh, very nice. All right, cool. For me, that's so weird about the heat because to me, we typically say Frank's Red Hot is like a 5 for our heat rating, and to me, this was below Frank's Red Hot. I do 100% agree with you where it builds. It's a slow burn. I thought it started off more in the range of maybe a 2 on the heat and then builds up to a 4. And that's where I'm going to put it, is I'm going to say a 4 for heat.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, to me, I'm picturing Frank's Red Hot. I don't think it ever got that hot. It definitely became very noticeable, but it's like we've said, there's so many different types of like spiciness or heat that I do think it affects different people differently. And for me, this was not, like I said, this wouldn't even have been marginally slowed me down for chomping down on the shit.
You also talked about inhaling the entire pork loin.
Oh yeah.
I think
I would
largely
unhinge my jaw.
I think largely this might have to do with the fact that you just eat so much quicker.
Yeah, probably.
That you're not letting it linger, those spices linger in your mouth long enough.
Yeah, you could be right.
Just inhaling it.
Yeah, for the listeners that want a little visual representation, if you've ever been like vacuuming and come across a sock, just go, whoop, that's kind of like what I would be like with the pork loin, just
gone.
And then it's just gone. So
it's history. Yep.
That's kind of my philosophy towards eating. I have a problem with that. And as far as flavor goes, I really like this. I was very clear about that. The grittiness thing was a little throwing me off. I'm not going to factor that too heavily into this. I loved it on the stuff we grilled. I loved it on the chicken nuggets. I'm a little bit torn on this because I'm actually going to give it a 9. And I was really trying to find a reason to give it a 10. And normally if I don't give it a 10, I'd like to come up with a solid reason as to why I'm not going to give it a 10. I don't really have a good reason. I can't put my finger on it. I think that there is something that can be improved about this. Maybe it's the high fructose corn syrup. Maybe if they could have used more of the actual fruit or something like that, I would have liked it better. Maybe if they would have used honey, I don't know.
the smell pushes me off a little bit, and I agree. If they use maybe like honey instead of high fructose corn syrup, or I think there's a certain balance that was just slightly out of balance. You know, like there's that like perfection, and it just missed it.
I think part of the thing is that like when you go to a Chinese restaurant and you get those spare ribs or the chicken teriyaki, that is almost kind of more like what I had in my mind. You know, which I think is more sweet, which I think is, less proficient than this was because it was well balanced.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what's doing it for me. You know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to revise. I'm going to give it a discretionary point. I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Whoa.
Because I really feel like taking any more than a half point away from this when I can't even come up with a solid reason is just bullshit. So, in respect to them, to what they have here, I'm going to give them a 9.5. I'm going to say that half a point is my discretionary subtraction of half a point for not having a good reason, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, I know. I initially was tossing 9 in my head when I first, but then I ended up lowering it down to 8.5. Again, maybe based on unjust reasons, being really nitpicky about just, like I said, the balance that they were achieving and the smell. But, like a couple of my favorite sauces would have to be like General Tso's sauce, which I think is, again, kind of in that genre.
I think they would appeal to similar people.
Right.
Similar tastes. Let's put it that way. They're not the same type of flavor, but they would appeal to the same people.
And I almost think that they do this better than General Tso's or the, like you said, the spare ribs, because they're too sweet. They're too sweet. Much high fructose corn syrup. This has the savory and the heat. Right.
This has the heat that I want from General Tso's. Let me say that straight up.
I couldn't disagree with either of you.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you like General Tso's?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Very much
All right.
So,
Huh. Yeah, I think. Oh, that's interesting.
And I said I've had good General Tso's, but more often than not, I have lousy General Tso's. It does taste too sweet and doesn't bring the heat. Once in a blue moon, you finally get someone who really punches that heat flavor up. And it's like, oh, cool, this is done well, I'd say. But I don't know. I still think I might like this more than even the best General Tso's I've ever had, which is very high praise.
General Tso's usually is very low on like that savory flavor, that umami, and I really like that.
Right.
This has a lot of that, and it also has the heat that I find appropriate. Usually when I get General Tso's, if I get like General Tso's takeaway from a Chinese place, I will actually ask for it extra spicy. It still won't be spicy enough.
Right.
And then I will take it home and I'll pour red pepper flake on it and mix it in. And that usually gets it to where I want it. There's actually there's a restaurant down the road from us, the Taj Mahal. They have they're like an Indian type restaurant.
Love them.
And they have a chicken there. I think it's called like the 5-star or 5-pepper chicken or something like that. And it is exactly what I want from General Tso's. It's just like General Tso's, but they kick the heat up to where I want it.
Isn't it called 5-spice chicken?
Yes, 5 spice, maybe. That's what it is. It's something like that.
Yeah.
I just I've only had it a couple of times there and I can't remember the name. But yeah, I really like that. And I think that's for this sauce here. The only thing I will say is I believe I gave the Nando's a 10. I liked that one better than this. It's like I don't have any detractions from it, but I can't give it a 10 when there's definitely things and sauces I can think of that I liked better than this.
The Nando's, I definitely rated the Nando's slightly hotter. I think I gave it a 7 or 7.5 on the heat. So
that one was hotter, yeah.
Yeah, it is hotter and more vinegary, I remember.
Yeah, more limey too.
The limey, the citrus in it. I mean, that was a good sauce. I don't know, I just don't.
I think I gave that one a perfect 10. I'll be perjuring myself if I didn't. Okay.
Oh, no.
Pretty sure. I tell you what, I'm going to up this one to a 9.
Yeah! America! Fuck yeah! Actually, Korea. We should say Korea. And
South Korea.
Yeah, I'm presumably South Korea. Mm-hmm. It's kind of if you adapt the traditional joke, it's kind of like, do you know what North Korean food tastes like? Say, no, I've never heard of it. And then you say, neither do they. That's right. It's traditionally like the Ethiopian joke and kind of poor taste, but kind of funny. But no, I assume South Korean. And I also was making a very stupid joke earlier that the CJ was China, Japan foods.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. And then, China, Japan foods, Korean barbecue. I don't think that's what it's for. I sincerely
international.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the channel, but I also do want to note that I've been sucked in for the last few weeks of watching YouTube videos of Korean street food. It's wonderful. If you like food as much as any of us here at the table, it's a little bit of food porn for you. So it's good.
Well, okay, that's cool. I don't know. Is there anything else to be said about this? I don't think so. I will say that
I'll bump up my rating to 7.
Whoa!
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
There you go.
I think if nothing else, Tori, I think that you can justify that with a discretionary point, and here's why. This, like I said, had easily could have done 6 pounds of meat, and we had it for, 2. I think I did 2 whole pork tenderloins, an entire flank steak. We had it on chicken nuggets, and we had a little bit tasting, and there is still enough left for a meal in here. And I think my girlfriend paid somewhere in the ballpark of I could be wrong about this, but I want to say she paid like $3 or $4 for this.
Man,
That's a big,
When you're
that's a
talking
big
bargain,
container.
and you said before points per dollar, and I mean this is kind of going to be up there for that too. I mean that's
Right.
a hell of a deal, So I think I think that's well justified.
All right.
I definitely think I need more of this in my life. I want to do a stir fry with this. The more I keep tasting it and try, I'm still trying to suck out the last dregs in the bottom.
It's funny you should mention that because after we did the first grilling, I actually was kind of thinking shit, I want to find another excuse to grill this again with some Korean barbecue, But yeah, no, I was really happy with that.
I think we need to do the Nando's chicken and the Korean
Put
barbecue.
them side by side.
Yeah.
Those would be a bomb ass combo, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty similar, but different enough to be distinct.
That'd be an epic chicken dinner of pure delight, I'm sure.
A couple tens of thousands miles away in terms of geographical location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a very good point. Yeah. About, I said not quite, maybe you could get a little farther away, but pretty damn close to opposite ends of the planet.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's going to pretty much do it for this week for our review of the CJ Foods Korean barbecue original sauce chicken and pork marinade. Hot and spicy. Korea's #1. There's a lot of busy packaging on here, as we mentioned. With that, Eric, do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with us? Any original closing thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I know. It's going to be tough here because I want to go to my default always, which is the same thing I've been saying
Get out there and try something new.
episode. Right. No, I think I'm going to make reach out to our listeners and say, listen, if you think that we are doing you guys a service and that you are hearing some sauces that are interesting and you guys want to check out,
donate directly to Eric.
we're always welcome to get some donations, but no,
Send your blank checks to
let us know.
Pittsburgh,
Let us
Pennsylvania.
know on the show notes. Respond. Reach out to us. Let us know and tell us what you guys' thoughts are on trying these sauces, or if we're missing something that you guys want to hear. So that's what I want to say. Tori?
Nice. Very well done, E. Well, today I had a tough time with that score. I wavered a great deal. My algorithm was
fluctuating.
Yeah, maybe you need a little grease or whatever the hell you do to an algorithm. But hey, if you're in a position where you're struggling with making a decision, let it marinate. We talked about marinades today. We're going to let it marinate. There's absolutely no need to make a decision right now. Think about it. Sleep on it is what I like doing personally. I like to get a good night's sleep before making a big decision and then do it. Don't make any rash decisions until you get in trouble. And thank you for listening, as always.
Yeah, I think you're actually spot on there. I've kind of started trying to adopt that more into my personal life, where anytime someone is forcing me into an answer, my answer is automatically no. And I'll straight up tell people that, if you're going to force me to answer, the answer is no. And that's just it. No. Because almost no one will ever force you into a decision that is in your best interests. That's pretty much it. You can pretty much end it there. No one's ever going to force you into a snap decision that's in your interest. So, yeah, I think that's a very, very solid advice, Tori.
I try. The blind squirrel found enough.
Very good.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it this week for us. Thanks for listening, as always, and we'll catch you next week.
Oh, bad news is we're at the end of the show here, but hey, the good news is that we have several other episodes that keep you entertained. And while you're at it, send us an email, saucespoken@gmail.com. If you've had enough of listening to us and like to see us, you can do that too. You can stop over on our Instagram page. It's Sauce Spoken Official. If you wish to get down into the nitty-gritty, we welcome you to do so, and you could probably do that on the website. That's going to be saucespoken.wordpress.com. We have some show notes there. We keep track of the various ratings we give them over the episodes there, so if you wish to dig into the details, that's a great place to do it. In the event some unthinkable calamity, your favorite listening provider is not available, you can fire us up on YouTube. And of course, we'll be out here rattling our empty mayonnaise and mustard jars. If you'd like to donate to us, you certainly can. We are at PayPal, at Sauce Spoken. We'll give you a little jingle jangle, maybe a wink and a smile on your way out. Keep in mind, we have stickers available for you. Slap them any which where you like, but they're available to you. If you'd like one, let us know. We'd be happy to send you one. And finally, we have a proprietary cryptocurrency out here. It's what's called Sauce Stoken. We have some details on it on the website. As we close here today, of course, we're going to ask you, please share us with a family member, share us with a friend. Hey, if you're enjoying it, I'm certain they would too. If you could, follow us, give us a rating or a review on that listening platform of your choice. Thank you for listening, and this is Sauce Spoken.